No, it's okay, it's fine. I like it actually.
Okay, I can give you the phone.
Glad that you're all here, and today we're gonna go through theory of the homeopathic breathing or Siberian Qigong. This breathing is revolutionary. This breathing technique leads to the many different expected and unexpected benefits. It is actually wrong to call it breathing technique. At a certain point it was called Siberian self-choking, because many of the exercise leading to the decreasing of the amount of air going through the lungs per minute. And that's what designed for. Why it is so, we'll discover soon. First question. Do you believe that oxygen is good for you?
Yes.
That's one. Now, for people who said yes, I have another question. If the oxygen is only good for you, why do they sell antioxidants? They sell antioxidants in the grocery store, they sell antioxidants in the health food store, they sell a lot of them. And they designed to counteract the powerful effect of the oxygen.
Maybe for sick, the oxygen is spreading the sickness.
Oxygen is not spreading the sickness, but oxygen is a very active chemical ingredient which is dangerous and toxic. If oxygen to be compressed and put in a tank, there are going to be signs of danger because it's danger of explosion. On the other hand, if you put in a tank compressed carbon dioxide, which we're all being taught that is bad for you, then it's not dangerous, it cannot explode. Now, who was good at chemistry? No one? What's the oxygenation? What is oxygenation? Oxygenation is burning. In the acute case, is burning, right? Fire is an acute case of oxygenation, the most potent reaction of oxygenation. And what is the result of burning? Ashes. So its organic matter is destroyed by burning, right? So when the amount of oxygen and the minutes going into the system is exceeding the need of the body, then the oxygen becoming a free radical oxygen, and those free radicals, that's what they do, they burn, they cut the biological compounds, the complex biological molecules into the pieces, and these pieces becoming themselves the free radicals. They're now capable of cutting other molecules and pieces. It's like a chain reaction of free radical intervention into the normal work of the cell. So that's why oxygen is it's extremely useful for life. Life runs on oxygen, but it's useful only in a certain amount. And unfortunately, the way people being taught about the oxygen and intake of the oxygen and the manner they breathe is wrong. Why it is so? Because there is two main gases in the exchange of the gases in the body. That's oxygen and carbon dioxide. We all know that we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. And it's overall kind of thinking of all the medical establishment and general public that carbon dioxide is useless waste, which is to be treated as such. Now, carbon dioxide is a very active biological compound, which is extremely important for life on Earth as whole life on Earth, because life on Earth is based on carbon. You probably know that, right? That life is carbon-based. The main biological compounds, they carbon chains. Proteins and such, they all carbon chains. So without carbon, life is impossible. So carbon dioxide is part of that carbon circle of the chain. Now, recently was a very interesting development when you know that Roman folk had a lot of influence on people. So he's preparing, maybe it's already out, his message to the people called encyclic, right? What is called? Yeah, encyclical is his every year message to the people, and he can also carve certain messages to the special needs of humanity. So this message he's preparing right now is carved to the environmental concerns. And there was a letter of the group of retired NASA scientists and engineers led by the person by the name Harold Droy to the Pope Francis, urging him to be skeptical of global warming claims. The letter says, there is no compelling scientific reason for immediate enactment of worldwide CO2, which carbon dioxide emissions control, as the UN is urging you to recommend in your soon-to-be-released encyclical on the environment. This is especially true when we know that CO2 is a very special, colorless, odorless, and non-polluting gas designed by our Creator to be an essential chemical compound for sustaining all plant, animal, and human life. That's about the understanding of the role of the carbon dioxide. Any of you had ever fish tank? Have you ever feed your plants with carbon dioxide? That's what you do when you have a fish pond.
Do you mean these, like...
Yeah, you have to bubble it through.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
To make plants grow good in the fish tank, you have to bubble through carbon dioxide. Because plants are doing opposite of us, seemingly, which is not exactly true, but majorly kind of. They consume carbon dioxide, put it into the biological compounds, and release oxygen. Right? That's what plants do.
Photosynthesis.
So carbon dioxide is crucial for our crops. That's what food is growing from carbon dioxide. And so is in our bodies also very important. Why it is important? Because there is two different ways these two gases distributed throughout the body. The oxygen have a unique way of being distributed through the body. The oxygen being captured by the specialized molecule of hemoglobin, like these two claws. And they lock those claws. And that molecule carried through from the lungs to the cell and then release it. But that lock, which is holding it, have a key. If that key is not present there, the lock is not open. Then oxygenized, very nicely oxygenized blood will go around the system, go to the cell, bypass the cell, and return back with the oxygen again. Guess what that key is? Carbon dioxide, that key.
Really?
That key is carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide is not present there on the cell level, then that lock is not open. And the whole system is going around without use. That means that percentage of the oxygen in your lung does not correlate with the percentage of the oxygen in your cell. On the opposite, the percentage of the carbon dioxide in your lungs directly correlated with the percentage of the oxygen in your cell. The more carbon dioxide in your lungs, the more oxygen being delivered to the cell, because oxygen opening that key and releasing, because carbon dioxide opening that lock, it's that key which opening that lock and releasing it to the cell. And then the cell can consume it. Otherwise, it would not be able to get it. The problem arising from the fact that carbon dioxide is simply diluted in the liquid part of the blood. And there is no any specific mechanics of it delivering through the system. It's just diluted. Now, how much gas it can dilute in the liquid? Not much. And it's very fluid. When you breathe with which we call rapid chest breathing, when you breathe like we've been taught in the aerobic exercise, what's happening is that your lung getting nicely oxygenated with the oxygen, carbon dioxide getting lost through the system and through the lungs and then through the whole bloodstream, so it's getting very poor on carbon dioxide, very low, and then all the system getting broken. All the system of the oxygenation and distributing the blood through the cells is not working anymore. It's idling, right? Everything is seemingly working, but the final result is not there. There is no oxygen in the cell. So, historically, why it happened, there is a long historical background about it, which you might benefit from. It's a big-time science, but it was there when it was discovered, so I'll deliver it to you as is. This is the diagram. Whoever heard the expression, the great oxygenic catastrophe? Nobody heard of it. That's because it happened a long time ago. It happened about 400 million years ago. Okay? This is the content of the oxygen in the atmosphere of the Earth. This is content of the carbon dioxide in atmosphere of the Earth. And that's where the first simple animals appeared. That's where the simple cells appeared in the oceans, animal cells, not plant cells. And that's where the simple animals appeared. That's 700,000 million years ago, long time ago. So what basically this theory is teaching, that the alive cell was introduced into existence when the percentage of the oxygen was almost 30 times less than current. What was happening is that oxygen was consumed by the oxygenation of the metal core of the Earth. The metal core was being combined with the oxygen and create the metal ore, which was now used to get the iron, right? And that's where all the oxygen was going. It was going to the oxygenation of the iron. Then, after that process came to its end, all iron available at the planet of Earth was oxygenated, then the percentage of the oxygen began sharply increase.
Or was it giving off oxygen as well?
Nothing was giving it off, yes, it was just naturally present there when the atmosphere formed when the planet was formed. But the thing is that all that time that oxygen was always consumed by the iron. And then when the all iron being oxidized, then it started growing, the percentage started growing. Now also, in this period, the fish appeared and the green plants, which was the plants of the oceans, right? These green plants begin producing immediately oxygen from carbon dioxide and increase it many, many times, dozens of times. And that event called Great Oxygenic Catastrophe, because at that point, most of the alive forms already being developed by this period died out. They were unable to stand the new atmosphere, they were unable to adapt it. Whatever was adapting later developed in the plant kingdom, animal kingdom, but the original cell was created and came to being in a completely different situation.
So it had to happen very fast then, right?
Well, it's millions of years, it's probably 200 millions of years, but on the planet scale it happened like a catastrophic event, very fast, so they've been exterminated. Okay? So that's where this theory came from, that originally the cell was designed to have much less oxygen and a lot of carbon dioxide. And the first spacecrafts put into space by the United States had the atmosphere of pure oxygen, because from this theory they realized, okay, let's have more oxygen. It was dangerous because it's flammable, but they decided to do it so that they...
To breathe.
Yeah, that they need to lift less cargo, because a lot of oxygen will be already there. So what they found is people are getting old very fast. Those astronauts getting old very fast on the orbit because they breathe pure oxygen. So after several years, they realized that that's not supposed to happen. So they immediately mix oxygen with nitrogen, and since that time they never had a pure oxygen in the spacecraft, because it's no good for people. You're getting aged because your free radicals are killing the different compounds, and your body is not fast enough to repair them. The breaking of the chemicals happening too fast to the body to repair them. So this is the kind of rationale behind the whole idea that the current content of the oxygen is not healthy in the atmosphere. So from this standpoint, this scientist sending a letter to the Pope is actually saying a very interesting thing, that this current growing of the carbon dioxide, which so concerns scientists as a global warming, is a reaction of the Earth on the population. We're growing in the population, the Earth would give us more plant food, so Earth is raising carbon dioxide to provide us with food. It's not that simple. Earth,
the ozone.
yeah.
That's the problem with this.
Yeah, I know. So it's not just one side of the event. This event has many sides, and negative and positive. Yes, it is increasing the temperature, and it's having many other impacts, but it's the current view of it is one-sided. It's much more to it than it's there's just that view that it's bad and we have to stop it.
Yeah.
Yes, we technically can stop it. Now this is second thought on it. Another thought is that I was actually this thought just came to me a couple of weeks ago. I was thinking the blood system, right? The heart have two chambers, and blood never mixes. The oxygenated blood never mixes with the blood coming back. It's have separate two pumps. One pump is pumping the fresh, good blood into the body, another pump is pumping it out of the body into the lungs to be oxygenated. With breathing, it's very different, which nature would create the same for breathing. It could create two pipes, one intake and then one out. And then it would be much more oxygen in the lungs. But nature instead creating the one entrance and exit pipe, which providing the mixture of the gases. Mm-hmm. It's not coincidental. This is the reaction to that catastrophic event. This is the adaptation of the alive forms, of higher alive forms, that they could breathe atmosphere from the lungs enriched with carbon dioxide instead of breathe it straight from the outside, rich with oxygen and poor with carbon dioxide. This is our spacesuit, because after this oxygenic catastrophe, the Earth became hostile to the many alive forms. So the alive forms developed the lungs as a way to adapt to this. So lungs are designed a way to adapt to enhance the carbon dioxide and decrease the amount of oxygen. And then that mixture is becoming very healthy and very good. So together they're all right, they're good. So who of you watched on TV the Homeland? American. Okay, then I would not use it. Anyway, who remember the movie The Flight Over Cuckoo Nest?
I heard of it. Jack Nicholson? Right?
Yeah, Jack Nicholson, right? So,
a long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
70s.
Well, many people remember those connections, trust me. So that's how I feel about current medical system. As a Jack Nicholson in that madhouse, that he's trying to get people out because he realized that system is no good, it's killing them. As personalities, it's killing them. So the same happening with medical establishment today. There was a terrible mistake made some time ago that it was overlooked and somehow was suppressed. Maybe not intentionally, but it does happen. And this mistake is influencing many generations of people after the mistake was made. So my task here is to introduce you to a dream. And my dream is Canada, where hospitals are closed. And there are doctors and nurses running around delivering lectures about healthy lifestyle, making people more healthy instead of treating disease. That's my dream. And this is part of that dream, because this teaching people that they have to have aerobic exercise with a lot of breathing with the chest is what is resulting in a lot of so-called disease of civilization. Because disease of civilization is nothing more as any other, the same like lungs adaptation to that oxygenic catastrophe. The diseases of civilization is adaptation of the body to the wrong amount of oxygen and low amount of carbon dioxide. What body does, body is surrounding the cell with mucus. And mucus is to prevent the leakage of carbon dioxide. So body is trying to seal the cell. What body does, body is shrinking the airways as asthma happening. That's prevention of the leakage out of the carbon dioxide. That's a mechanism to save carbon dioxide. If you do not understand it and treat the person, the same happening during atherosclerosis. That's again the same thing. It's sealing of the cell of the blood vessel to prevent back leakage from the cell's carbon dioxide, to keep it high. So when you do not understand it, you treat patients with the remedies, which is enlarging the airways, opening their vessels, and you're killing them by this.
Because it's releasing more carbon dioxide.
Yes.
Rather than saving.
This is it. So
their logic is that oxygen should be coming.
Their logic is to bring more oxygen, but it's not used because it cannot be unlocked.
So you mean in the running?
It's running there. Your oxygen in the lung, fine, excellent, but in the cell it's not.
This sounds crazy. It's not right.
It is not crazy. This is the so-called Bohr effect, which was discovered by the Dutch Dr. Christian Bohr in 1903. He discovered it, and he wrote a lot of scientific papers, and they were published, and they're available. Any doctor can go to the library, and there's more than one person who discovered that effect. There's 5 or 6 doctors simultaneously in different countries, in different languages, discovered that effect and published it. But so for some reason nobody interested in it. So this is basically saying that reduced amount of the carbon dioxide, changing the situation, and hemoglobin is not releasing the oxygen. That's called Bohr effect. That's a pure medical science. It's not some voodoo science or some energy science or some Reiki science. It's a pure medical science.
But again, because the treatment's going to be free, right?
Well, what would happen? Let's just talk about the person who discovered all this, and who was my teacher, Dr. Konstantin Buteyko. He is the originator of this system and my personal teacher. I met with him many times. I was first taught by his disciple, and then after I passed the initial course, I continued my studies with Dr. Buteyko himself. He is actually my Ukrainian fellow man, and was very proudly so. Ukrainian, always wearing Ukrainian shirt. He never lived in Ukraine. He always lived in Siberia, first in the St. Petersburg, then in Siberia, and that's why Siberian Qigong. He discovered it there, in Siberia. How it happened? He was a medical doctor in the ward and was doing rounds, and he noticed that patients having terminal illnesses have a very heavy, sharp, and fast breathing, like this. And as a doctor, I can testify that that's true. Patients in terminal conditions have a very frequent chest, rapid breathing. But Dr. Buteyko paid attention to that, and also he paid attention that the sharp raising of blood pressure also correlated with the change of breathing. The breathing pattern is also changing to faster, more breathing per minute, and chest breathing. Himself, he also was a hypertonic, so he had suffered from the high blood pressure. One day, he observed a patient in the hypertonic crisis who was having this very elaborate and heavy breathing, and the thought came to him that if that breathing would be changed back to the quiet, normal breathing, maybe the blood pressure would normalize. So immediately he went to his room and tried that, exactly that. He tried just to sitting down and to normalize his breathing and quiet it down. And to his amazement, his blood pressure, which he was unable to treat for the last 1.5 years, went to normal. That very evening, went to normal. So he made a discovery. He made a discovery that breathing and blood pressure, at that point he thought only about blood pressure, is very interconnected. Later on, he would make the discovery that breathing and many of the so-called diseases of civilization, which is diabetes, cancer, asthma, heart attack, what else? All kind of inflammations. They all result of that over-breathing, of rapid chest breathing. They're not a result of anything else, they're a result of chest breathing, and they all get eliminated when the breathing getting back to normal. So he developed the whole system, and fortunately for him, he was, for some misconduct, he was expelled from St. Petersburg and sent to Siberia And fortunately, because Siberia was very far from the center of the political thought, was kind of neutral politically, and he was granted a lot of money to open his lab there. So he was basically forgotten there and got money, so he started his research, organized a big scientific lab with a lot of people, and they together got all these results, summarized them in very simple, very primitive, I would say, table.
Why was he sent there in the first place? Was he kicked out of?
Yeah, he did some mischief with the Minister of Health, and they just expelled him like exile or something.
Yeah, exile.
So this is the result, the final result of his study, which is summarizing in this very beautiful and simple table. It's called breathing zones. What it says is, so at the bottom is the most dangerous situation. It's called Cheyne-Stokes breathing. Cheyne-Stokes breathing is the breathing immediately preceding death. It's look and sound, for example, like this. That's how the person who's ready to die breathes. Okay? So if you will see that going up, the health is increasing, and in the middle is so-called physiological norm, which is acknowledged as norm by the research of Mr. Buteyko, Dr. Buteyko. On top is physiological super norm, which is super health. Now, you see the letters DB, that's deep breathing. So these two lines, together with the norm, would form kind of accepted medical norm, which is in eyes of the person who is who know this about breathing is not really the norm. It's the stages of disease, but for the average person, they feel like they're okay. But they do not have any super health or any additional health which they need when they're stressed or they need when they got cold. They immediately fall into the illness. So this is not real health, it's just average kind of health which people understand that they kind of healthy. So the first column is the percentage of carbon dioxide in the lungs, inside of the lungs. And this column is directly correlated with the health. The more carbon dioxide in the lungs, the stronger the health. Okay? So the RCB stands for rapid chest breathing. Now also, when you start practicing this technique, your heart rate is changing, it's decreasing. So it's reflecting in the table as decrease of the heart rate. The frequency of the breathing also decreasing. Normally the person should have 8 breathing per minute. Usually people have 10, 12 average healthy people. We're going to do a test. I brought with me some equipment. On the practical part we're going to do a test and everyone will get his position in this table, where he's at. Okay? Now automatic pause. Automatic pause, that's the pause inserted by the body between the breathing in and breathing out. As you can see in the worst stage of the disease going down, there is no pause between the breathing. It's just going chain reaction, one by one. Control pause. Control pause is the amount of time which person is capable of holding breathing without previously being exposed to the hard physical work or stress, until the person can start breathing again normally. So without exaggerated breathing in the end. So that's control pause. I will do the control pause right now. Okay?
You mean holding your breath?
Holding your breath, control pause. It's a very important measurement, because by this measurement you will be able to see your progress. You will measure your control pause in the morning after your practice, and by this you will see how it goes. If you're going in the right direction or you stumbled on something, because there's indications of some chronic illnesses which we will talk about this later, which can stop the person from progressing in the system. So the next is maximum pause. This is the amount of time the person can hold the breathing maximum with the will, when the person is pushing and forcefully holding the breath. Okay? Now the respiratory medium volume is the amount of the air going through the lungs per minute. As you can see, when the amount of the air going through the lungs per minute more than 13 liters per minute, then this person is ready to die. This person is not surviving. The last column is related with the measurement on the special device I will introduce, so we will not talk about.
I don't understand what the respiratory minute volume. I don't know.
Is
Is that relevant for me to know?
Yes.
I don't understand.
It's the general amount of air going through the lungs per minute.
Liter.
Per minute?
Yeah.
So
Per
the
minute.
more air going through the lungs per minute is more disastrous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's staying, it's not releasing?
No.
Because that's because carbon dioxide getting away from the system.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is it's a very primitive table. This is also not carved to the person's size and age and gender and stuff, so they're very average. But they deliver a very important message. They deliver the message that the current teaching about the aerobic exercise is wrong and harmful. And you see that we invest millions of dollars every year in the healthcare, and every year they say we need more, and society says already, yes, we understand, and we put more next year. And have anyone checked lately the statistics of the chronic illness in Canada? It's growing. It's not going down.
But the population is growing, so inevitably that
No,
will be
statistics is dividing. It's
per capita.
per person, right? So
Yeah.
it's
So growing per
it's a
person.
trend. The amount, general amount, is not only one accounted in statistics. The percentage of chronically sick people in society is growing.
And it's younger now.
Perhaps it's younger. We got a lot of Alzheimer's and
Obesity, though, could be a factor.
my real concern is that we ended up with a society where half of the population would be sick with Alzheimer's, and other half of the population would be nurses who would help them to survive. That's where we're heading. We go in this direction very
Which
fast.
are also sick people, these nurses.
They will be also sick people, but
Yeah.
they will be with manageable sickness. That's where we're going. Okay? With all these drugs and all these tactics we're using in medicine, that's where we're going. We're heading that way. And that's terrible. This is disaster. This is catastrophe of medicine. And
But aerobic exercises, we need that to lose weight and stay healthy, like, no?
that's true.
To keep
The
the,
problem is
to burn calories.
the problem is with the theory installed in your understanding. This is the wrong theory. It's wrong. It's teaching the opposite of what's happening. And then the results is exactly opposite what you expect. You expect that you invest more money in medical establishment and you're going to get healthier population. Instead, you're investing more money and get sicker population.
Yes, but there are other variables, though, aren't there?
Oh, yes, there is a lot of other things, but this
It's
is
not
big. This
okay,
is big. This
okay.
is accounting for about 70% of this illness right now happening within civilization, the civilized world. About 70%. Because this is 5 diseases of civilization, they're widespread, they're all over.
Are you saying those diseases are the cause of this breathing?
No,
Our lack
the
of...
wrong breathing is cause of this disease.
That's what I meant, sorry. Yeah.
Okay? It's very important to understand when you want to practice this, because this understanding will make your mind change to the right position, and then you will practice it good. Your practice will be rewarding. Because if you would not understand this, your practice will not go right. Because you will be still on the old paradigm and trying to bring new practice into the old paradigm, which would not work.
It's actually going to help you with your Ashtanga practice.
I'm telling you, the first effect in the first 3 days, you will feel the difference with your spine.
Well, I have a lot of anxiety right now.
Yes.
I'm very stressed all the time.
Yes, also I have to tell you, nothing personal, okay? But the problem with the spine in this area, in the lumbar area, that's anger.
Anger? Yeah, I'm very angry.
Because anger is hitting you on kidneys first. And kidneys right here, so they affect the spine, and spine getting very poor energetic level there.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Now, what we're going to do next, we're going to practically experience the result of the deep breathing, okay? So we will not be just like talking about it, we will really see what's going on. Okay? So we will do the exercise, and I hope none of you will have any serious illness or taking serious medications. Okay. So what we will do exactly as we told by medical establishment. We will do a deep chest, rapid chest breathing for about a minute or so, because average person cannot do it more than a minute, and see what would happen to us. Okay?
We're gonna fall over. We're gonna hyperventilate.
Good prediction. We will hyperventilate because that's what they're teaching us, right?
Yeah.
It should be good for you. You're gonna get a lot of oxygen in your lungs. Okay, let's do it.
Do we have to stand up?
It's up to you. No, you don't need to stand up. I'm standing up because it's more convenient for me. Okay, so we will do the rapid chest breathing. I can go on anymore if anybody can. Sure, go ahead, but I can't. Okay, please stop the exercise. Oh, God. Okay? What we experience dizziness, numbness and tingling in the extremities, lightheadedness. We experience the kind of going into blackout.
Big time.
Okay? Coincidentally, all these symptoms are the symptoms of what?
Not having carbon dioxide.
It's the symptoms of common stroke by the Canadian Heart and Stroke Foundation. The same symptoms. What is stroke? Stroke is when your brain not getting enough oxygen. That means that your brain is ready to shut down. The brain have a preventive measure. When the brain sees that the level of oxygen is decreasing, the brain is shutting itself down to prevent damage to the neural cells. Because when it will shut down, the consumption of oxygen rapidly drops and they can survive longer. So your feeling of dizziness and lightheadedness is the preparedness of the brain to shut down, to prevent worse, to prevent stroke.
Yeah.
You just did it. Many people who have headaches will experience headaches. Joint pains will increase. Many symptoms
You're
of many.
right. My
Yes.
ACL is hurting now.
Yes. Whatever old traumas is there will be painful again because oxygen is gone. Now it's not delivered to the cell. So this is the little over-breathing exercise for you to understand that this is real. This is no joke and not some voodoo sign. This is real. By practicing rapid chest breathing, you making yourself sick. Now,
Question, because for example, when we're running, because running is in our nature,
yeah,
in the body, so we are just
Yeah.
running.
good question.
So what
Good
then
question.
happens?
What happening when you're exercising physically, what muscles do, they emit incredibly large amount of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. So that would compensate for your own breathing. But if you want to do it right, what you have to do all the aerobic physical exercise only with your nose, with your mouth tightly closed, never open mouth. And when you finish, you have to calm down your breathing as fast as possible, which they teach exactly opposite. The coaches teach sportsmen to do exactly opposite. They teach them to breathe deeply after that exercise. You have to quiet down your breathing as soon as possible, as fast as you can. And you never have to exercise with your mouth open. If you do those two things, you're fine.
And you know what's wrong with yoga these days? They teach you to breathe a lot, to breathe deep.
That's teaching spread into the yoga too. Because that's the leading teaching on medical establishment. It's going everywhere.
Because the logic is to put oxygen into the
Yeah,
muscle. And
Yeah.
Well, that's happening
and
exactly
then this
opposite.
is one of those, but not the other one.
But
Just
see-
breathing from the nose, what was the other?
The other one that you have to quiet down your breathing immediately as you stop exercising. Then you're running, your breathing is deep, elaborate. As soon as you stop, force yourself to take a quiet breathing again. That's it, and quiet down. Relax your muscles and quiet. Okay.
This is
So-
so weird.
No,
It's the
seriously.
opposite of everything I've learned.
No, but with yoga, it's just mistake of translation from Sanskrit to English, because deep breathing and deep breathing are two different things. In yoga, deep breathing meaning breathing through your belly, and we translate it as taking a lot of oxygen into the lungs.
Yeah, that could be a translation.
That's where the mistake is coming
Deep
from.
breathing in yoga means passing the very quiet, very small amount of air right there deep into the bottom of the lungs. Because lungs made like a pyramid, they go like this. The top of the lungs have very low capacity. They little. The bottom of the lungs is large. When you do the rapid chest breathing, you're using only top portion of the lungs. And that means that you're not doing a good job.
Right.
When you do the belly breathing, you're using the large bottom portion of the lungs.
Right.
Okay? Now, who saw the cat curled like a pretzel sleeping? You saw it. You saw that the belly was rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. That means the cat was in a very relaxed state, right? So that's relaxed breathing. Breathing into the stomach, relaxed breathing. It's slow, it's belly breathing. There's no sound, any visible signs of breathing when you're breathing through the stomach, besides maybe the rising and falling of the stomach. And
nothing moves.
You're relaxed. Your face is relaxed. And, stress breathing, it's rapid. Chest visibly moves. There is sound, noise coming out. And there's visible effort. Face is tense. And there is also the nostrils are going like this, doing this movement. This is elaborate breathing. It's stress breathing. This breathing for stress. This breathing is designed when you need to run from somebody who's trying to kill you.
Yes.
And we breathe like this every day, so no wonder our society is all stressed, because we've been taught to breathe that way. So we're all stressed because they taught us to breathe wrong. This breathing causing stress because that's how body preparing for stress. Stress is preparation for fight or flight, respond to danger. And they teach this breathing for everyday life, which should be opposite. We should teach this breathing for everyday life.
No, nobody teaches that top breathing.
Go to any aerobic exercise. Go to any
Oh
sport
yeah.
people.
For exercising, you have to breathe that way because it's
You
hard.
don't. You have to quiet down your breathing.
No, no.
When you're doing cardio.
Ooh.
When you're doing cardio, you can do anaerobic exercise. Now, I give you a home task. This is your task at home. This is a slow, relaxed belly breathing. It's not that simple. We're just scratching the surface here today. We're just scratching tiny little film of the surface of this knowledge. So to get your understanding that this is much bigger than we're talking today, try this. If you have some challenging situation which you don't know how to resolve, for example, you cannot cross the road, you cannot turn left because there is traffic, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do next. Try thinking about this situation and doing the relaxed belly breathing, and see what would happen, and tell us next time when we meet. Okay?
What do you mean? Like, if I have a certain problem that I'm having a hard time dealing with?
If you have any stressful situation, try to use opposite breathing and see what happens to
So
situation.
think about it, but do it while I'm relaxed breathing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Into the bed.
Okay.
Okay? And see what happens to the
Okay.
situation. Right? Now, next after that we will first study some of the influencing the breathing modalities and things. I will give out, which is describing some situations when the breathing naturally increasing and naturally decreasing. That's for you to understand. We'll go through it now together. That's for you to understand how the outside things are influencing the breathing. So let's get to the first page. Ventilation decreases. No, first page. Ventilation increases from this. That means that we're getting sick. And the first one is philosophy of greed, always needing more. Why is so? Because whole our civilization at the moment is a cancer on the face of the earth. We overextending the resources of the earth. We polluting everything. We're emitting the toxins into the clean waters. And we're making the planet sicker than it is. So we, right now, as civilization, are cancer. And cancer had to be cured. And cancer had to be cured with the increase of carbon dioxide, which Earth is doing right now. It's a reaction to our behavior. Now,